Have you ever wondered what the fate of the characters in Avatar World was? Today, I'll tell you the story behind each hero of the game, the ones you've seen many times, both in the game and beyond. This is Stacy. Now she's a true businesswoman, but since childhood, she was anything but serious. In kindergarten, she loved jumping on the trampoline, and when teachers picked her up to calm her down and put her to bed, she started crying loudly. After all, they wouldn't let her have fun. As she grew older, Stacy realized that chaos was fun, but she wanted something more, important. First, she tried teaching lessons instead of teachers at school, then helped her mom at the supermarket, and later became a manager at a store, telling delivery workers how to do their jobs. Over time, her ideas grew bigger, and she opened an office where she makes all the decisions, from projects to the order of coffee breaks. Now, Stacy holds meetings, assigns tasks, and acts like every day is a big event. Her co-workers nod, because they know, without her, the office would turn into chaos. And Stacy is also a true motivator. She loves organizing mini celebrations for any reason, a new mug day, a successful meeting, or just a good Monday. She's sure that even the most serious work becomes easier if you add a little fun to it. This is Carlos, a bank guard. When he was born, everyone was surprised by his black hair, since both of his parents were blonde. His parents often argued because they weren't sure if he was really their child, and Carlos always cried because of it. As Carlos grew older, his hair turned white, and his parents finally calmed down. But Carlos wasn't an ordinary boy. When he got older, he argued for a long time with his parents, asking them to dye his hair black again. In the end, they agreed, returning him to his original look. At school, Carlos didn't like noise. During breaks, he made sure everyone behaved properly and always reported to the principal if someone acted out. The teachers just smiled. If only everyone were this calm and responsible. When he grew up, Carlos didn't want any job other than keeping order like he did at school. But the principal said they didn't need guards, so Carlos got a job at a bank. He really liked it there. He admired the big metal safe that reminded him of rules and order, and the keys to all the bank's doors felt like a symbol of his authority. For the bank, Carlos became part of the family. Everyone was glad to have him. This is Patricia, the most fair judge in the city. Since childhood, she loved to argue. When her mom said it was bedtime, Patricia demanded proof. Otherwise, she refused to go to bed. And if her dad said ice cream wasn't allowed for dinner, she would start recording everything on her phone. At school, Patricia was always proving she was right. She argued with the teacher about anything, gave herself grades, and once even tried to cancel homework because the assignment had violations. Her classmates often came to her when they couldn't decide who was first in line for lunch. She held little court sessions right in the hallway. When Patricia grew up, she realized that arguing could be a real job. First, she worked in an office, settling disputes about who owned the kettle and the mug. Then in a pizzeria, deciding who would get pepperoni and who for cheese. Later, at a fire station, she figured out who could use the axe and who couldn't. And now Patricia is a real judge. Every day, she listens to cases, nods attentively, adjusts her wig, and makes decisions. And if someone dares to object, Patricia simply looks over her glasses, and everyone immediately agrees. This is Michael, a firefighter. When he was born, everyone was surprised. The baby had gray hair. His parents joked that he was born wise and must have already seen everything in life. From infancy, Michael looked like someone who knew exactly how to save everyone. As he grew up, he was a little afraid of fire. He always cried if there was even one candle burning in the room and waited until it was blown out. Even in the kitchen, if his mom was frying eggs, Michael stood nearby with a glass of water, just in case. At school, he was the most responsible student. During breaks, he checked if the toilets worked, if the cafeteria food was good, and so on. One day, during a fire drill, while everyone just stood and panicked, Michael had already brought a bucket of water he borrowed from the janitor. After that, everyone called him Little Firefighter. When Michael grew up, he realized he wanted to be someone who saves others. He joined the fire station, where at first he simply helped, checking helmets, arranging buckets and hoses. Later, he became a real firefighter, and when he got older, he was promoted to head of the fire station. That's Michael for you. This is Sophia, an art teacher. As a child, she had no idea what she wanted to do. Every class at school seemed more boring than the last, and she often fell asleep. But not in art class. There, she was endlessly fascinated. She always ended up covered in paint, even when they weren't painting. During breaks, she loved to paint on her sleeping classmates with brushes, and because of that, she often had talks with the principal. But Sophia never cared about the principal's speeches. When she grew up, she tried to get a serious job, in an office, where everyone sat quietly in gray clothes. But on her very first day, Sophia spilled her coffee, saw a face in the stain, and drew over it with a marker. After that, she decided no more hiding her paints. Everyone had known all along who she was meant to be. Now, Sophia is an art teacher. She walks around in paint stains, wearing a beret and holding a brush in her hand. In her class, no one is afraid to make mistakes because Sophia always says, "If you got messy, it means you've started creating." This is a Katarina, the local ballroom dance teacher. Even as a baby, she was always trying to stand up and start dancing as soon as she heard any melody. The caregivers were always afraid she'd fall and hurt herself, but Katarina quickly learned to stand on her feet. Soon she wasn't just dancing to music, she was energetically jumping on the trampoline. When Katya started school, things only got more fun. In class, she was always spinning around, raising her hand even if she didn't know the answer, just to be noticed. In the cafeteria, she loved grabbing a full tray of food and running and jumping with it, showing how well she could balance. The teachers sighed, the classmates laughed, and Katya only enjoyed the attention more. As she grew older, Katarina started dreaming of fame, walking down the red carpet, taking photos, and stepping onto a huge stage to the applause of fans. She imagined visiting the most fashionable boutiques and buying lots of beautiful dresses. But when she grew up, she only found a job as a hot dog delivery girl. She didn't like it at all, and she constantly argued with the cashier at the hot dog stand. But one day, while delivering hot dogs to a yoga studio, she saw a class and realized she could open her own dance school. Since then, Katarina has been the head of ballroom dancing in Avatar World. And even though she didn't become a world star, her students definitely have every chance to. This is Melina. She's a cashier. Since childhood, she's been a little strange. She could watch her mom sleep for hours, then suddenly wake her up. One day, Melina decided that money was just shiny circles and tried to make soup out of them. It didn't taste good, but since then she's loved everything that jingles, spins, and clicks. At school, Melina always found adventures. She loved standing at the board and giving lectures on math, even if the lesson was literature. Sometimes, instead of answering a question, she would just say loudly, "Beep!" and sit down, as if everything had been said. The teachers didn't mind. They thought, at least she's not fighting. And indeed, Melina never caused trouble. On the contrary, she was friends with everyone. When she grew up, she decided to find her dream job. First, she tried to be a waitress, but kept taking food away from customers because it didn't pass the check test. Then she worked at a warehouse, but got bored. It was too quiet, nothing clicked. One day, walking past a store, Melina heard that cherished sound, beep. She froze, looked around, and realized this was definitely her future workplace. Since then, Melina has been a cashier. She happily scans items, lines up imaginary customers when no one's around, and sometimes argues with another cashier about who counts more accurately. And every evening when she leaves, she says goodbye to her cash register. "See you tomorrow, my dear." Thank you for watching. Write your comments under this video if you want to get into the next video, and also watch my previous video. I'm sure you'll definitely like it.